Yo guys, and welcome back to yet another video. And stop questioning that I'm wearing a shirt on my head again. As you guys know, I still can't show my hair right now, but I wholeheartedly promise you that when I return back to this dude, then I will definitely fall to my knees and surrender in front of you. Meanwhile, La Liga is starting again. Yeah. What do you mean it's not starting on the 14th? It's starting in 2 weeks. I just looked up the schedule. But who cares, man? La Liga is starting, the best league in the world. And you know what? I am honestly so gassed. I don't care that Real Madrid will be starting their campaign at the Anota away from home against Real Sociedad. What I do care is that we are now ready for a title defense once again in this season. Ladies and gentlemen, by the title that you've seen, we are getting into the league right now, and I thought it would be most appropriate to talk about our team. Also talk about how Real Madrid will be heading into this season on a whole. Now, I did some analysis on my own, and there are some couple of questions that I would like to address, and also at the same time expect an answer from you guys as well, because communicating helps us bond together. Anyway, if you look at photographs right here, what I essentially did was I picked up all the 11s that Zinedine Zidane has used in all fixtures throughout this season. Yes, I actually did that. So like that, Zinedine Zidane managed to finesse 44 lineups, 44 different lineups throughout last season. So I took all of these 44 lineups and I checked which lineup yielded the better results, which lineups yielded better goal scoring performances, which lineups were producing more defensive performances. So then, looking at all of the matches that we played last season, I have put together some questions that we will be addressing in this video, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, for those of you who are in doubt, the very first question that we'll be addressing is which lineup was repeated the most. Now, don't get me wrong, there was only a lineup that was used 4 times last season, and that was this lineup. It was this lineup with a standard back 4, with a midfield trio consisting of Casemiro, Valverde, Toni Kroos, and the 3 players up front being Rodrigo on the right, Hazard on the left, and Benzema in the middle. Now, this is a lineup that I just wanted to put it out there and just tell you that, you know what, this is the lineup that has gone unnoticed. And if we were coming down to the opinions, I personally think this is an amazing lineup as well. Not only because it yielded the best output, but because it also is sound on an overall team level. Now, those of you who are wondering what about Asensio was injured for most of last season, so we're not going to bring him into discussion for now. This is not a lineup that I prefer. This is just a lineup that I'm just putting it out there, okay? Now, talking about the midfield trio with Toni Kroos, Federico Valverde and Casemiro, I feel like with Federico Valverde and the Luka Modric confusion that most people have, I to this day prefer Luka Modric. But maybe not the current Luka Modric if you want to back your team on a defensive level basis. And that's where the young, energetic Federico Valverde comes into play, where with his monster counter-pressing skills, he contributes also on an attacking and also on a defensive level basis. So overall, I feel like this is a pretty sound lineup. And a lineup of a very similar sort was used thrice last season. Only changes being that instead of Federico Valverde, we had Luka Modric, and instead of Ferland Mendy, we had Marcelo, and in some cases we had Mendy instead of Marcelo as well. Now, for those of you who haven't taken notice of that lineup already, it should ring you some bells. Without Marcelo, with Mendy being in the lineup and Modric being in the lineup, this is literally the lineup that was used against Manchester City. So I feel like that was the only L taken with this particular lineup, but I feel like this lineup has yielded the best output. Especially the games against Galatasaray, the game against Eibar after lockdown was finished, the first game after lockdown. You could see how well Hazard and Rodrigo were functioning on either wings when they were switching often, and the compatibility was definitely there, I would say. Now, this question doesn't really necessarily address my opinion on this question. It's just me saying that look at this lineup yielded the best output. Now, getting into what I prefer. Look at the screen, ladies and gentlemen. I know there is this whole thing that I'm ignoring with Rodrigo and Vinicius or Asensio on either wings, but fam, I just love this lineup, man. Recently, we lost James Rodriguez to Everton, and in my opinion, when you have James Rodriguez into a number 10 position and we are trying to play vertical passes to the forward in front, I feel like no one does it better than James Rodriguez. The last one I saw at Real Madrid do it very good as James Rodriguez, arguably better I would say, is Mesut Ozil, but Mesut Ozil was also a dumbass mistake made by Real Madrid. I feel like with James Rodriguez as well, he was underutilized, underappreciated in my opinion. But yeah, if you look at the screen right here, the back four is like a standard back four. It's not really going to change. For those of you who are wondering, oh, what about Marcelo? What about Marcelo? I feel like Marcelo right now will take the back seat gradually, like how Madrid is doing right now. I kinda like respect the shit out of what Marcelo is doing. He's not really crying about it. He's letting Forlan Mendy slowly settle into his boots, which is really sick, you know. So the back four is going to be pretty standard. It's not going to change. Now speaking about the four players there in the diamond, Casemiro, obviously the best defensive midfielder in the world. I don't need to say much. Now with Toni Kroos and Odegaard, people have to realize that with Federico Valverde, we had no option because he was an energetic, very much counter-pressing midfielder. But when it came to actual legitimate chance creation or goal chance creation, because of Federico Valverde playing instead of Luka Modric, we took a massive dip, which also consequently reduced in the quality of chance creation as well as the goals altogether. Obviously, we aren't stacked with the most equipped forwards as of now, but I feel like there's a huge difference between the offensive contribution when you compare that of a Valverde to that of a Luka Modric. Let this little statistic clear your mind, okay? The Luka Modric in 18-19 had a better chance creation rate than that of the Valverde in 1920. And that's totally understandable because Valverde plays a different role, completely different role than Luka Modric. Both contribute very different roles to Real Madrid's game. I personally feel like because of Fede Valverde's inclusion, defensively, we were a unit, like a legitimate unit. I'm not saying Luka Modric's presence would have downgraded the defensive capabilities of Real Madrid, but I'm saying that with Fede Valverde's inclusion, we have stepped up even more, I'm saying. So there is legitimate use of Fede Valverde in the team. Let that not blindside you at all. Now with Toni Kroos, right now, at least for the next 2 years, he's not going to be moved, okay? I don't think he should be moved. Now speaking of Odegaard, I only put Odegaard because Luka Modric admittedly is taking a pay cut and is allowing Odegaard to be integrated into the team. And also, Odegaard has been ducking our move back to Real Madrid because of Luka Modric's presence. With Luka Modric and Odegaard being in the squad together now, it's going to be so sick because Luka Modric will literally guide Odegaard into his boots, and Odegaard, we all know how good he is offensively. Now speaking of the number 10 position, we have lost James Rodriguez, and I will always regret that, mind you. But with Eden Hazard, I feel like playing him in the center is now the key. To most of the problems right now Real Madrid is going through in terms of vertical ball chance creation. Like clinicality in the final third is something that Hazard, a proper inform Hazard, would contribute. I feel like with Eden Hazard being 29 right now, I don't really see him on the wing beating defenders as elegantly as he used to in Chelsea probably like a 3 to 4 years ago from now. I feel like Eden Hazard's footballing IQ is really amazing, and I feel like he also has to adapt himself to a new role at Real Madrid. I feel like with people who are expecting him to be the same flamboyant Eden Hazard, just dropping defenders left, right and center, I feel like nostalgia has to take a back seat right now, okay? We can't count on nostalgia for the future of this team. We have Eden Hazard. We can literally maximize this, to be honest. Eden Hazard brings very supreme quality with him, and let us not ignore that fact looking at his first season at Real Madrid. And speaking of Isco, why I feel Isco is a second choice, because I feel like Isco is not as clinical in the final third. With Isco in in the midfield, you will obviously get more possession on the ball, more ball control in the midfield because of Isco's presence. I'm not saying Isco is worse than Hazard or better than Hazard. There's no comparison here. I'm just saying that this is my choice. And as far as the two forwards we are speaking about, I feel like Benzema alone shouldn't operate as a number 9 like he did. He literally carried the life out of this attack, man, literally. But I feel like that's not something really self-sustainable going into the future, and I feel like Benzema should start counting on another striker and function as a secondary striker that allows him to drop deep how much ever he wants to without any second thoughts, and also join the attack along with Luka Jovic. And as far as Luka Jovic is concerned, if Luka Jovic is in form, I swear this is going to be so amazing. The goal scoring output is just going to be off the charts. I feel like with one Luka Jovic bad season, people aren't rating him that much, but I feel like with Luka Jovic, if he does manage to achieve his maximum potential here at Real Madrid like he did at Frankfurt, this lineup will bang the shit out of opponent teams, man. We'll just be rushing nets throughout. And imagine if after that Mbappe joins us. So yeah, this is my opinion. I want to know from you people what your opinion is on this subject so that we can discuss and I get to know your opinion as well. Now addressing another question, which is how do Odegaard and Valverde get into the same team? Now I feel like the chances are very slim of Odegaard and Valverde actually sharing the same pitch at the same time. Now I know there were times last season where Fede Valverde started alongside Luka Modric as well. I'm not denying that. And honestly, for me, all day, any day, Toni Kroos's position is non-negotiable. He just offers so much to the game that obviously we all know. Now I do think that there is a certain lineup where Odegaard and Valverde could probably be integrated together, and there was a very famous formation, the 4-5-1 formation, which was used 4 times on 4 occasions. The lineup was used. I think it's a no-brainer that this kind of a formation allows you to crowd the final third a lot, and there is also a very high chance creation rate when you go with a formation like this. We saw it against Granada. We saw it when we murdered Valencia in the Spanish Super Cup. Now don't get triggered, alright? I just kept Odegaard just because Modric said he'll be taking a back seat. If you want, you can visualize Modric there if you don't want to give Odegaard too much of a head start already, okay? But you know what? If you ask me, instead of Benzema, if Luka Jovic is in proper form, with his attacking positioning, I feel like Luka Jovic would bang this, man. With this kind of midfield and also with Luka Jovic up front, amazing scenes. And obviously on the wings you have Federico Valverde, who's not the most ideal right winger, but obviously with someone like Carvajal, who obviously pushes high up the pitch quite often and also happens to contribute a lot to the chance creation part of our game. And Federico Valverde obviously tracking back simultaneously and also joining the attack along with the others in the midfield in the transition. This lineup would also bang as well. But if you guys think that there is another way that we can integrate Valverde and Odegaard without playing other midfielders, of course excluding Casemiro, let me know how you can make that happen, okay? Because I feel like Kroos and Valverde played very different roles, and I feel like if there was a top 5 most important players in Real Madrid list, Kroos would be in the top 5. For me, Kroos literally is the architect of the game. So ruling him out doesn't really make sense to me. And also there is another question that we have to address, is that how do we integrate Hazard and Vinicius in the squad together? Now mind you, Vinicius is too hard to replace, man, right now. Now I feel like Zinedine Zidane kinda jumped the gun when he replaced Vinicius with Hazard against Manchester City. But the efficiency in terms of goal output that Hazard brings is much more than Vinicius, so that's kind of non-negotiable, to be honest. But with Vinicius advancing so much in his career and also polishing his game at the same time very regularly, someone like him who is explosive, flamboyant on the left will be very hard to replace with Hazard, who doesn't really have it in him that much on the left anymore, in my opinion. Like I repeat myself again and again, Hazard has a position in the center, in my opinion. that is completely reserved to him, or should I say should be reserved to him. So yeah, if you want to play Hazard and Vinicius together, it has only happened once last season, and it was against Mallorca. Obviously we took the risk of not playing Casemiro that game because Casemiro was on a suspension, and Valverde was performing defensive duties along with Varane, trying to assist him in those duties as well as a helping hand. But one thing that we all must remember, and we already know, is that Casemiro is the most important player in Real Madrid. So the odds of this lineup happening again just so Hazard and Vinicius can play together, it's not really going to happen very often. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, if you did like this video, don't forget to drop a fat like on this video, and on your way out, do not forget to subscribe to the channel. I will see you in our next video with an interesting concept. Stay home, stay safe, and peace.